Hello everybody and welcome back. Today is a very magical day. We are going to be talking about my magical readathon, Orillium TBR. If you guys don't know what Orillium is, I'm going to leave the announcement video from G from Book Roast down in the description box below. She explains it way better than I could, but basically this is a readathon centered around a magical school and you are taking classes to level up and qualify for your career. Now in the springtime, we kind of did picking our career, kind of getting the basic stuff. Now in the fall, we are going to be honing our skills and really leveling up and doing more with that career. So when I picked my career for my character back in April, I chose Mage Hunter. I did have either Mage Hunter or Demonologist, but unfortunately I did not get to Demonologist, so we will be doing Mage Hunter for the autumn equinox. So I wanted to just go through with you guys really quickly what my prompts are, what classes I need to get, and what books I'm going to be reading for those prompts. So this is kind of structured in a way where you have to get like a certain passing grade, and there are 3 different ones. I think it's O, Q, and D, and I forget exactly what those stand for. Qualified, distinguished, and I forget what O means, but different classes for my career have different levels that I have to get. So the first class for me is Spells and Incantations, and I actually need a D in this one, meaning I need Distinguished or the highest level, which means that I need to read 3 books for this class. O is in Charms, and it is a short trip to read a manga or a graphic novel. I am not a manga or graphic novel reader. I just typically do not enjoy that format. I have learned that about myself. And so I don't really want to read a type of format that I know that I'm not likely to enjoy because I have tried it. It's not like I don't like them or I haven't tried them and I'm not willing to try. I absolutely am. And I think that it's a great format of consuming stories. I, however, just don't like looking at pictures in my stories. I find myself reading the words and not looking at the pictures, which are the primary source of the storytelling in those. And so I miss a lot of the story because I'm just reading the words to get to the next set rather than looking at the incredible art that these authors spend a ton of time doing. So I think I am going to cheat just a little bit and substitute within the spirit of this prompt with short stories and a novella. And for that one, I'm going to be doing Eric LaRocca, The Trees Grew Because I Bled There. This is a collection of stories plus I think 1 novella. I have not read any Eric LaRocca before. He is a well-known horror author in the community, and I just feel like it's a rite of passage. I need to read some Eric LaRocca. This one has several different stories. I think there are 8 different stories in here, even though it is quite short. So again, I still feel like I'm staying in the vein of short trip, but this one is exploring a woman imagines horrific scenarios while caring for her infant niece, online post-chronicle cancer diagnosis, a couple in the park with their small child encounter a stranger with horrific consequences, toxic relationship reaches a terrifying conclusion. So I think that this book is going to have trigger warnings out the wazoo. I fortunately do not have any triggers except for occasional animal cruelty, but even that depends on the context. So I think I'll be okay reading this one, but I'm very interested to give this a try. And then for Q, it is Incantations, and that prompt is a black flame. To read a book with either a black cover or a flame on the cover. For this, I'm going to be going with one of my SPFBO books, and that is Prince of the Fallen by M.H. Woodcourt. This does have a flame symbol on the front of it. Hopefully you guys can see that. And it is a classic fantasy following these people that worship the sun gods, and they have very strict religion and strict rules. And there is another race that they think is inferior, and they have to wipe out in order to lift up their sun gods. And the king's brother overthrows the king and get rid of his nephew who would be the heir to the throne, but the nephew ends up being the Prince of the Fallen and a messenger of the gods. So I am excited to read this one. SPFBO books are very hit or miss in this kind of first culling, but this one is one that I was very excited about, one that I requested to be in my batch, so I'm looking forward to getting to that. And then for D, we have Dome of Silence, and this one is To Read in Silence. For this, I'm going to be kind of crossing over an Amazing Readathon book, and I'm going to be doing potentially Kagan of the Damned by Jonathan Mayberry. This is another fantasy revenge plot story. Jonathan Mayberry actually writes horror, and this is his first foray into fantasy, so I'm very interested to see how that shapes out. I know that Claire really liked this book, and she's been dying for other people to read it so that she has somebody to talk to about it, and I'm very, 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 very excited to read this one. We have Kagan, who is the trusted and feared captain of the Palace Guard, and he is abandoned by the gods. He is now a wanderer, and he's fueled by rage, looking to exact his vengeance. Kings and gods will fear him, Kagan the Damned. So this is definitely a revenge plot type story, but I am so excited to get to this, and it's been on my TBR for a while, so it's time. Next up, I need a Q in Conjuration. So for O, it is Ghostly Etiquette. Read a book with a court setting. For this one, I'm going to be finishing off the Queens of Renthia series with Queen of Sorrows by Sarah Beth Durst. If you guys watched my publisher battle from this most recent installment, you will know that I absolutely loved Queen of Blood. I thought that it was such a cool magic system with really interesting characters. I have since read the second book in the series and also quite enjoyed that one. So I'm very excited to continue on, finish out the trilogy with Queen of Sorrows. This one is following a young woman who has the power to control spirits, and she is whisked away to this school to be trained to potentially become the Queen of Renthia, and the Queen is responsible for controlling all of the spirits and keeping the world safe. I'm very interested to see how this concludes, what kind of chaos that Delena can get into next, and I think it's going to be a really good time. Next up, we have Q, and this is Spirit Communication, to read a book that is set in a different culture or part of the world than yours. So I live in America, and I think for this one, I'm going to be going with Final Strife by Sarah L. Arafi. This one, I think, is an African, don't quote me on that, inspired story that Becca was really enjoying. She just read the sequel in one of her vlogs and has me wanting to pick it up. This one, I think, involves people with different colors of blood, and different colors blood do give you the different like rights in society. Reminds me a little bit of like the structure of Red Rising or the structure of Red Queen a little bit. So I am excited to get to this one. It's been on my shelves for forever. This is the Goldsboro edition, and I waited so long to get to this that the sequel came out in this slipcover, shiny edition, and I hadn't read it yet, so I didn't get it. Now they're sold out, which is a big sad, but I am excited to read this, and if I like, I'll probably get the matching UK edition of this one, even though it won't be in the pretty shiny slipcover edition. And last up, we have an O in Restoration, and the O for this one is to induce sleep and start a book before bed. I am going to go ahead and put a book in this prompt. A lot of my books that I read, I do either start in the morning on my way to work, or I start when I get home from work before I go to bed. So this prompt should be pretty easy for me to fill, but the book that I'm going to tentatively slide in this spot is The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. I love Mark Lawrence's writing. I reread Red Sister not too long ago and gave it an even higher rating than I gave it the first time. I absolutely loved it. And so I'm excited to continue in Mark Lawrence's writing with this one. So many people have raved about this book and said that it is absolutely fantastic. And it's about two strangers that find themselves connected by a vast and mysterious library containing many wonders and still more secrets. I think that it is a little bit portal fantasy, maybe. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it obviously is about libraries, and I just can't wait to get to this one. It's a chunky boy. It's not short, but it's one that has been on my radar of potentially a 5-star for a really long time now since it came out, and I need to get to it. So I wanted to make sure that I at least got it on this TBR somewhere, and this seemed like the perfect place for it. So there you have it, guys. This is my Magical Readathon TBR plus the Prince of the Fallen by M.H. Woodcourt. I'm very excited about this TBR. I think it is a great stack, and Magical Readathon is just, it's so much fun. It's so creative, and I am in awe always of the things that G can come up with, what comes out of her brain. It's absolutely incredible. She has a reading room that she creates for them usually, and her characters are just always so well thought out and so vivid, and it's always fun to see everyone else's magical TBRs. It's definitely something that brings the community in a lot closer, I feel like, and most people end up participating. So thank you guys so very much for watching, and thank you, G, for creating the Magical Readathon. So let me know if you're going to be participating in Magical Readathon and what your career is going to be. If you're not participating in Magical Readathon and you just want me to let me know that you were here, leave me some kind of magical emoji down in the comments below. As always, links to my Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and Goodreads are all in the description box below. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.